Forces can be used to cause objects to rotate about a pivot. A wrench and a nut are a good example of rotation. The nut acts as a pivot in this example as it stays in place, and the wrench then rotates around it. So the wrench rotates when we apply a force here, at the opposite end to the pivot, as we push this part of the wrench down, but the part of the wrench at the pivot can't move. In your exams, all examples of turning forces will involve a clear pivot point. So does it matter where we apply this force? Well, a force should be applied at a point away from the pivot. So there's no rotation if we apply the force here at the pivot point. If we push into the pivot, the wrench can't move and there's no rotation. And the same happens for any force pointed directly at the pivot. So does the same rotation happen when we apply the force anywhere else on the wrench? Well, the further the force is applied from the pivot, the stronger the turning effect from the force. There is less rotation when the force is applied here, for example, at the point halfway along the length of the wrench. So the force is closer to the pivot and therefore it has less of a turning effect. When the force is applied as far as possible from the pivot, there is more rotation. And this is because the force is further from the pivot and there is therefore a greater turning effect. This affects the design of the wrench. Ideally, it would have a long handle so we can apply the force far from the pivot for more rotation. So what are some other examples of forces causing rotation? The turning effects from forces are seen in many applications. Consider a door. The pivot point is at the hinge and the door handle is placed on the other side of the door as far away from the pivot as possible. On a seesaw, the pivot is at the centre and we apply opposite forces at either end. On a spanner, the pivot is at the centre, so we can apply opposite forces at either end. You don't need to remember these exact examples of turning effects, but you should be able to explain how turning effects are used when given examples similar to these ones in an exam.
Thanks for watching. If you want to take your GCSE revision to the next level, head over to launchpadlearning.com and check out our smart learning platform that's been designed to get you top results in your exams. We cover your whole specification and make revision fun with interactive quizzes, easy to follow videos and more. You'll be kept motivated by your own AI tutor who's here to support you every step of the way. To check it out for yourself, click here. Or click here to keep watching a selection of the videos from our full GCSE Physics course. See you there!